But here is the dark note, the sad note. As I said at the beginning, when I described my teenage despair over the prospect of death, all of this is doomed to destruction in the heat death of the universe. As the universe expands, it grows colder and colder. Eventually, all the stars will burn out and there will be no light. There will be no life. The stars will collapse into dead stars and black holes, which then may dissolve eventually into a thin gas of radiation expanding into the endless darkness and the cold recesses of space. And this is not science fiction. This is the way it's really going to be if God does not exist, if atheism is true. So on the atheistic story of life, in the end, it's a tragedy. There ultimately is no hope. There is no purpose, which we are realizing everything is doomed to destruction.
What about multiverses?
Right. In each multiverse, you will have that thermodynamic demise of that universe within the multiverse, so that each portion of the multiverse will become increasingly marooned and isolated from other parts and will soon grow, well, not soon, eventually grow dark, cold, dilute, and dead. So that ultimately that doesn't provide a means of escape, wholly apart from the question of whether there really is a multiverse out there.
Yeah. Well, of course, if you have multiverses, I don't see any issue about multiverses, being created, or however it is coming into being on a temporal basis. I mean, we know that our universe has a temporal basis, doesn't? What is it, 18 billion years ago or whatever? So, but you see, this is part of the problem. I think where we are divided is that for you, there is a meaning to it all with a capital M, and this is all important for you, and this is how you put your perspective. Whereas, if you like, I really am an existentialist. I don't have that comfort, if you like. Yes. I think that if you want to say life is meaningless at some sort of level. However, I don't think it, as I was saying, I don't think that means there's no meaning or anything like that. I just feel that we've got to recast the way we think. And so even if you're right, for me, I would rather go my way than, as it were, say, well, it's really important to get on side, before it's too late. So this is my problem, is I just don't have that, well, what is it, sense of divinitatis or something like that, that Plantinga's always going on about.
But can you accept?
Here? I mean, as I say, I'm not an atheist. If anything, apophatic theology, it suits me. That I can say that God is not Michelangelo's God, holding out his hand to Adam, and a lot of other things. I mean, obviously,
but that's a meaningful statement.
It's just like a human writ large, because if he is, I don't know how the hell you could explain Heinrich Himmler. So for me, so much of it is just a mystery. And without, well, of course, now it's going to come round, without saying I'm a braver person than you are, Bill Craig, I am, because I'm prepared to face up to, as it were, the abyss in a way. And I don't really mean this in a nasty way. I think you, as it were, took another path when you were 16, or however old it was when you were chatting up this girl in front of you.
But Dr. Ruse, you are looking for meaning. The whole point of this conversation and your life and asking these questions and studying the leaders of thought in all these fields, I believe, is points to the fact that you are, in one way or another, at least trying to get closer to something like the truth, or get closer to being more right than you were wrong. And so what is that direction, if we were to extrapolate that direction that you seem to have dedicated your life to? Isn't that where you're looking for meaning? Isn't aren't you in the direction of truth when you're trying to do that? Aren't you? Because you are agnostic, but you are pretty religious in some ways, it sounds like. I mean, it's hard to get out of this trap. I don't think that you are a man who says, well, it's all meaningless. I don't believe that. That's you wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't.
Well, just an interjection. When you call me Dr. Ruse, I feel terribly embarrassed. The only people who ever called me Dr. Ruse were students who hadn't done their assignments.
That would be me. That would be me. I've always been a hopeless student.
And you look like the kind of student that I'd have trouble with. When I say midnight on Monday, I do not mean 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning.
That's me, baby.
Anyhow,
I come up with 1,000 excuses.
Yes,
I would like to make it clear that what I said about the ultimate hopelessness and purposelessness of an atheistic view is not meant to be an argument that atheism is false. It may very well be the case that the truth that we're talking about is dark and tragic. But I think what this does go to show is the importance of the question. I don't think anyone can live consistently and happily within the atheistic framework of life, because it would force you to regard your own life and moral decisions as ultimately meaningless and purposeless. But I think it underlines the importance of asking ourselves, well, which view of the world is true? Is a theistic worldview true, or is an atheistic worldview true?